this is, again, we have a system of equation here. We have 2x minus 7y is equal to 3. And then you have minus 5x plus 3y equal to 7. Can I solve this by substitution also? Anybody? Well, Roberto, you said no. Let me take all the check mark out for a second. No, we can solve any system of equation by substitution method. But is it easier to solve? That's a different story. You see what I'm saying, Roberto? Yeah. I can go ahead and solve this by substitution method, definitely. But it's not probably the wise choice, because then I have to solve. Right, exactly, Roberto. That's what you meant. You meant it's not a good idea to solve by substitution method, but we can definitely do that. If I want to solve this by substitution, I have to pick one of these equations, solve x in terms of y, and right off the back, I can see I can introduce fraction there, because we have coefficients present for both x and y. So we have to deal with fraction throughout the entire process here. So in this case, if I use addition method, would be a easier way to go. Now with addition method, let's understand the concept. We pick one of the variable, either one, and then your goal is to make the coefficient of those variables opposite of each other. So when I add them up, then those two cancels, go to 0. So let's go ahead and make the coefficient of x opposite of each other. All right, so here I have x here, and here I have x here. The coefficient of x for the first one is 2. Coefficient of x for the second one is minus 5. You're allowed to multiply the top and bottom row of this equation by any number you like. Let's see, who wants to, Roberto, can you tell me what do you want to multiply the first row with and the second row with in order to make those opposite of each other? Multiply the first row by what? Okay, if you don't know, just put the x next to your name. Okay, Roberto says multiply the first row by 5. Very good. If I multiply the first row by 5, then I would get 2 times 5 is equal to 10. Now what do I have to multiply the second row so I get 10 also? Roberto? 2. Very good. And they're already opposite in sign, so I don't have to multiply by negative. When I multiply the first row by 5, the first equation returns to 10x minus 35y is equal to 15. And then when I multiply the second row with 2, I will get minus 10x plus 6y is equal to 14. Now, can I see a check mark next to your name if you understand up to this point? Because that's the whole concept of solving by addition method. You multiply each row by a number, so you would get a coefficient of that variable opposite of each other. Why did I choose 5? Because I have 2 here. On this row, I have 2x and negative 5x. I have 2x here, and I have a negative 5x. How can I make these two opposite of each other? I have to multiply the first row by the other number, 5. I got the 5 from this 5 here, really. If I multiply this by 5 and multiply this here by this other number here, 2, the both would become the same number. And since one of them was already minus, so they become opposite of each other. That's why we multiply by 5 and 2. Right. So if I had another example, if the first row, let's take a look at, if I were going to make y opposite of each other, negative 7y, 3y. Okay. So let's take a look at that. Negative 7y y and 3y. If I were going to make these two opposites of each other instead, then I had to multiply the first one by 3, right, because of this 3 here, and multiply the second one by 7, because of 7 here. So that's why they become opposites of each other. You see, Emilia, so you have to go. That's fine. Make sure to review this session later. Would be minus 21 y. That would be plus 21. You saw we get opposites of each other. The goal is to make these two opposites of each other. Do you follow that? Very good. All right. So now, sometimes it's easier if one is x and the other one is 3x. Okay, Heidi, what do you have to multiply each row with to make those opposites of each other? Okay, Heidi, you tell me. What do you have to multiply the first row with? Well, not x. We already have x here. Multiplied by what number? Negative, Heidi? 3. Not 3 only, negative 3, right? Because if you multiply this by 3, it becomes exactly the same. Because this is already 3x. The other one is 3x. You see I have to multiply by negative 3. So then this would become negative 3x. That would become opposite of each other. So in this case, you only have to multiply the top row by negative 3. Looks like you got it, Heidi. Very good. All right. So we go back and we'll see what we did here. So now I have to go ahead and add these up. So this would gives me 10x added to minus 10 would be 0. So that's how you would get only equation in terms of y. Minus 35 would be 35 minus 35 plus 6. That give you minus 29. Okay, and that would become plus 29 if you add them up. 15 plus 14, and then you would have to divide both sides by minus 29. So what is y is equal to? Minus 1. Very good. Okay, now let me ask again if you can follow, everyone, how I got y is equal to minus 1 for the check mark next to your name. So this method is easier than substitution method. It takes less steps and calculation involved. Kevin, do you follow that so far? Much easier, yes. But you have to know both methods, though. Kevin, are you okay? I don't get a response from you. So once I get y is equal to minus 1 here, I can go ahead and solve for x. Now I can go ahead and substitute that into either of those two equations. I'll go ahead and substitute the first equation. Doesn't matter which one. And I would let y be equal to minus 1. And then I would get to solve for x. That would be plus 7 equal to 3. And then we get 2x is equal to a negative 7 plus 3. I subtract 7 from both sides of the equation. It would be minus 4. And looks like we already got the answer. X equal to minus 4 over 2. So x would be equal to negative 2. So again, I can write the answer as negative 2, comma, negative 1. Use that substitution method, in this case addition method, instead of substitution method. Heidi, every time it says solve the system of equation, they're asking for both x and y. That's what they're asking. This is your x, and this is your y. You want to solve both of them. Okay, now just to see how many of you are still here, some of you left already. Let me take all the check mark out. Can I see a check mark next to your name? If you can follow this, and I'm going to go back and see if there's any other question that you asked earlier. We covered 17, and after that, I think that was the last question that you guys asked. Well, it looks like everybody okay with this. All right, we're going to look at next problem, number 14. Roberto.